Got a legend in the building tonight. It's the Hifiman HE1000. This is the V2. There's the HE1000. There's the V2. There's the SE. This is the 2.5. There's the 3.5. So this is the almost most recentest version of the V2. This is like, you know, when I think of a flagship open back planar headphone, this is what I think of. I've wanted to try these for forever. I've enjoyed all the Hifimans I've tried. I love this brand because they make stuff at like the almost $100 price point, and then stuff at like the $20,000 price point. And I love that they're sort of always pushing technology, that they've got, you know, a very wide offering, and that they're always trying to figure out sort of new and interesting things to bring to audiophiles and consumers at different levels. And this is a headphone that's got a ton of critical praise, and I'll just be, you know, another person on the parade, just kind of celebrating what this headphone can do. It's a fantastic all-arounder. It is, I think, if you wanted to sort of define it in one word and stop watching this video, I'd just say balance, right? It's got a mature, sophisticated, controlled sound. It's maybe a little bit on the clean side, a little bit on the dry side. It's like that hi-fi sound, right? When you're just like, wow, you know, where, you know, detail comes across the entire spectrum of music, but it's not getting overly crowded or overwhelmed. You're just really hearing just whatever you want to focus in on and listen to. It's right there for you. I think maybe the lower mids are like a little thin for my taste, as is often the case in that sort of what I would describe as the hi-fi sound. But they're just so composed. Like you cannot knock these headphones off their game. You can throw really complicated passages of orchestral music or like modern electronic music, things where there's just like, you know, 50 different sounds going at one time, and they're all there. It's whether your brain can keep up. But they just don't get overwhelmed. They don't lose their composure. They're giant. Have we talked about that? Look at this. Here's the LSA HP1. This is not a small open back planar headphone. And then look at this behemoth next to it. They've got the kind of ear shape thing going, which is cool. Super comfortable. I've seen looking at these things in photos, I thought they looked a little cheap and cheesy, but in real life they look really good. I guess they just don't photograph well. All the aluminum, the machined aluminum stuff's really nice, and the grills and everything, and the little wood inlay, it looks bad in photos, but in real life it's pretty nice actually. It doesn't look like a cheap veneer, and the pads are nice, and then they're giant around your ears, so there's so much space. They're completely open, obviously, and then just look at all that planar driver back there. It's wild. They got the same Hifiman band as a lot of other ones, but done in aluminum and steel here, so feels a bit nicer. This is the 2.5 version. There's a 3.5, which is the current one, which would obviously be nice to have in terms of aftermarket cables. Just gives you a few more options. Anyway, balance. So balanced to maybe be a little bit restrained or a little bit polite at times. I don't feel like this is a headphone with a lot of opinion. You know, it's not really coloring the sound. It's really presenting what's there. And so if you want to tweak that, you can, because it's very responsive to what's upstream. So if you want to change amps, you want to change DACs, you want to EQ it, you can kind of, you know, it's a bit of a chameleon. This headphone will adapt. It has all the capability. You just have to decide how you want it to sound by tweaking what's upstream. I listened to it on a Vioelectric V281, on a Deckware Taboo, on an Audio GD NFB1 amp, so a couple solid states tube, and it is a bit demanding. All those are relatively powerful amps, so they could all drive it, but you could sort of tell by where you were on the volume knob that these headphones definitely like some juice to really get to their sweet spot. I liked it the most on the Taboo. Not a big surprise there. I think that tube sound, though, really does complement a headphone like this that tends to be it's not an analytical headphone. It's not like sort of what I think of the Beyerdynamic sound as. It's like I think Hifiman's always had a bit of a fun in its house sound, even when it's sort of pushing for more detail. These aren't like a dull or boring or neutral headphone, but they are balanced. Did I say balanced? I think I said balanced. I think their real parlor trick is the sort of space and separation and the width that they create. The staging's amazing. Like, there's just room between every single element, and you can sort of push things apart in your mind and hear kind of what you want to hear. And when you go back to other headphones after you've listened to these, they can feel a little bit compressed. Even headphones that like are not are wide and generous and good at staging, these are better. That separation can be really rewarding and fun on like, you know, hip hop tracks or R&B tracks where like the vocals kind of rise up and punch at you, and then the bass is like sitting low and far and back behind, just, you know, filling in that foundation. Sometimes it goes too far and they can get a little like illusory or sort of like ungrounded, where you feel a bit floaty, and you know, when certain maybe more simplistic emotional music, where you just want that it to hit you in your heart more. I think on some tracks like that, it felt like I was listening to a hi-fi system rather than like feeling the music. I think this is pretty subjective. It's pretty much personal taste at this point, but yeah, that'd be my little niggles, my little complaints. Picks up a ton of micro detail. Sometimes, for the worse, it will expose flaws in your system for sure. You know, a certain combination of tubes I was using, there was some little frequency that it would pick up, and it would, you know, want to show it to me. It'd be like, "Hey, look, I found this cool thing. Do you want to listen to it?" And I'd be like, "No, I really don't." You know, little like tape hiss or stuff would be like, "Ah, look at this! I can render this. I don't want to hear that." So that you have to be aware of that. You know, you have to. This is a high-end pair of headphones. You have to have a high-end system above it to really get the most out of it. Yeah, very rarely I got a little bit of semblance. This is not my favorite, but I don't, you know, it was rare, and I think it was only with certain gear pairings, and I think you could avoid that if you had the right system sort of put together. And same with a little bit of grain in the vocals. Sometimes you get a little etch, a little grain, as I think, again, it's trying to pull more detail into the scene, but I think that's really solvable if you had the system designed around this headphone. Yeah, I mean, if somebody wanted a flagship open back planar headphone, I would have zero qualms about recommending these. I think I have a lot of respect for these things. I think they're just a really, really great pair of headphones that, you know, you could live with and really build a system around that, that really, you know, fit what you like and what you need. So we will leave it there. Oh, the cables suck. Sorry. And I've talked to a few HE1000 owners, and they always say, like, you gotta get new cables. One, for ergonomics. Two, because the sound quality is not at its full potential with the stock cables. And yeah, the cables are not cool. But the headphones are. So if you enjoyed this or any of the other videos on the channel, please go ahead and subscribe. Yes, click bells for dings and all the things that you do on YouTube. And until next time, this is Signcraft signing out.